Tēnā koutou, and welcome to this video on how to use the dual map viewer for Plan Change 120 and the proposed amendments. This map viewer differs from the one you will have seen previously. We call it a dual map viewer as it contains two separate viewers that illustrate the differences between Plan Change 120 as notified in November 2025 and the proposed amendments as at August 2026. You can access the viewer through the Auckland Council website. From the home page, search for Plan Change 120 in the search bar. In the search results, click on the box that says PC 120 Housing Intensification and Resilience. This will take you to the landing page for Plan Change 120, where you will find a link to open the dual map viewer. We recommend you look at the map viewer on a computer, not your mobile device. The information is easier to interpret on a larger screen, and some older devices are slow to display all of the mapping. The viewer will open in a new web page. You will see a pop-up box with terms and conditions. Please take the time to read this as it contains important information that may affect your understanding of how Plan Change 120 and the proposed amendments apply to your property. Once you have read through this, tick the box to agree to the terms and conditions and hit OK. You will now have access to the dual map viewer. The dual map viewer has two tabs at the top of the page. One for Plan Change 120, which shows the original mapping proposal from November 2025, and another one for the proposed amendments to Plan Change 120, which shows the latest mapping proposal as at August 2026. We strongly recommend that you use both tabs of the viewer to understand the differences between the two maps. At first glance, you will see that quite a lot of Auckland is shown in white. This means that spatial mapping changes are now withdrawn from Plan Change 120. We will cover this further later on in the video. Down the left-hand side of the dual map viewer screen, you will find three tabs. The first tab is an information tab, which tells you about the purpose of the plan change and gives you an overview of the dual map viewer. It also contains links to the Plan Change 120 webpage here, the full legend here, and the dual map viewer user guide here. When you open the information tab in the proposed amendments to Plan Change 120 viewer, this information will appear in red, and if you open it in the Plan Change 120 viewer, this information will appear in blue. The second tab on the left-hand side is the layers list, which contains a range of mapping layers for Plan Change 120 and the proposed amendments. These layers are grouped into four main categories. 1. The management layers shows the Council's main spatial intensification proposals in Plan Change 120 and the proposed amendments. 2. The limited application of Plan Change 120 layer includes sites where no rezoning or no intensification, including rezoning, is proposed. 3. The spatially identified qualifying matters and or planning matters layer shows features which limit the heights or densities otherwise required by the National Policy Statement on Urban Development or the Resource Management Act. Examples of qualifying matters include things like the Special Character Area Overlay or the Regional Maunga View Shafts Overlay. Read information sheet number 13 for more information on qualifying matters. 4. The zoning layer shows the proposed zones for Plan Change 120 and the proposed amendments to these as of August 2026. To make this easier for you, when you select a property or area in one viewer, this will be open to the same property or area when you change to the other viewer. However, the mapping layers are managed independently in each of the two viewers, so you will need to switch them on in both viewers to show the same type of information and compare results. As an example, if you are interested in seeing the historic heritage overlay across both viewers, you will need to turn on the Spatially Identified Qualifying Matters and or Planning Matters tab and tick the relevant boxes in both viewers. It is important to know that not all layers are visible at every scale. If a layer is shown in grey in the layer list, it means that the map image is too small to show the information. You will need to zoom in to ensure that the relevant scale of the mapping layer displays in the viewer. To do this, either use the plus and minus buttons in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen or use the scroller on your mouse. If you click on the ellipsis, the 3 dots, next to a layer, you can change the transparency of the layer, allowing you to see what is underneath. Changing their transparency can be useful if you have lots of layers turned on at once. To see where amendments are proposed to properties or areas compared to the notified version of Plan Change 120, ensure that the Proposed Amendments to Mapping layer is ticked when you are in the Proposed Amendments to Plan Change 120 viewer. This should be turned on by default. These areas of change are indicated by small crosses. Although this layer tells you what properties are subject to proposed amendments from what had been notified, it will not be able to tell you what those changes are. You will need to review the property summary box in both the viewers to identify the differences. Finding the property summary is explained later. The third tab on the left-hand side is the Map Legend, which shows how spatial mapping layers are displayed in the viewer using colours and symbols. In the Map Legend, you will see that some properties are located in areas where Plan Change 120 application is limited. The No Rezoning Proposal layer, shown in red hash, refers to areas where rezoning was not proposed, including in Plan Change 120 as notified in November 2025. The No Intensification Proposal layer, shown in black hash, refers to areas where no rezoning or intensification was included in Plan Change 120 as notified. This includes places like the city centre zone and many metropolitan centre zones, which were not and are not proposed to change through Plan Change 120. The last layer is shown in white. As discussed earlier, this indicates where spatial mapping changes have been withdrawn as of August 2026. These areas are generally outside the walkable catchment areas required by the National Policy Statement on Urban Development and the Resource Management Act. If your property is located in a white-out area, it means your property is no longer proposed to be rezoned and will remain as it is zoned in the Auckland Unitary Plan. If you are in a white-out area, you can find the current zone of your property by checking the Auckland Unitary Plan maps on the Auckland Council website. Also note, if you are in a white-out area, that other proposed spatial mapping changes applying to your property are also withdrawn. If you are interested in a particular property, simply type the address into the search bar. As you are typing, a drop-down menu will appear. Click on the address you are interested in viewing from the drop-down menu. The map will then automatically take you to that property. Alternatively, you can also zoom into the map until the property boundaries become visible and then click on the property. When you click on the property, a property summary box will appear. This property summary box will display different information depending on whether you are in a whiteout area, in an area changing through the proposed August 2026 amendments, or in an area that is not proposed to change from the Plan Change 120 as notified in November 2025. It's important that you read all of the information contained in the property summary box, as this will also direct you to additional information that is relevant to your property. If you are not in a whiteout area, the property summary generally lists the proposed zone, management layers, and any spatially identified qualifying matters that apply. Whereas if your property is within a whiteout area, spatial mapping changes such as rezoning proposals have been withdrawn from the property and therefore will no longer show in the property summary box. However, some changes proposed to the text provisions of the zones and Auckland-wide chapters of the Auckland Unitary Plan may still affect how you can use and develop your property in a whiteout area. For example, if your property is zoned mixed housing urban under the Auckland Unitary Plan, then the changes proposed to rules and standards in the mixed housing urban zone will still be relevant to your property. As a reminder, you can refer to the Auckland Unitary Plan maps to see what your current zone is. As another example, if your property is shown in council geomaps as being subject to a modelled floodplain, changes to rules and standards in Chapter E36, Natural Hazards and Flooding, will be relevant to your property. Please refer to the text of Plan Change 120 and the proposed amendments to understand these changes further. If the property is proposed to have spatially mapping changes from what was notified in Plan Change 120 in November 2025 to now, the property summary box will tell you that this is the case. It can't, however, tell you what those changes are, so you will need to move between the property summary boxes in the two viewers to see what the differences are. Simply scroll down within the property summary box of each viewer to see what zone, management layers and spatially identified qualifying matters are proposed to apply as of August 2026 and at November 2025. For example, if the special character area overlay was proposed to be removed from your property through Plan Change 120 as notified in November 2025, your property may be subject to a change in zoning proposal in August 2026. Moving between the property summary boxes in the different viewers can show you what the new rezoning proposal is. The Dual Map Viewer has three additional tools: the Help tool, the Print tool, and the Draw tool. The Help tool provides a link to a written guide on how to use the Dual Map Viewer. The Print tool will generate an A4 size colour map that corresponds to what you have displayed on your screen. You can change the settings in the pop-up screen prior to printing. Once ready, click Print. The Draw tool allows you to draw points, lines, and shapes directly onto the map. Use the drawing features in the Draw pop-up box. You can choose how you want the point, line, or shape to look in the maps by changing colours, line thicknesses, and transparencies. You can include measurements by using the Show Measurement tools. This feature allows rough measurements between 2 points or calculation of a shape's approximate area or perimeter. Any items drawn in the map will appear when printing the maps. To delete any items drawn in the maps, simply click on the Erase button in the pop-up box. Thanks for watching this video on how to use the Plan Change 120 Dual Map Viewer. For more information about Plan Change 120 and the proposed amendments, visit the Auckland Council webpage or click on the link shown here.